All my dears, perhaps I have lived decades that many would call different times, but deep down there are certain mysteries that have always remained in the shadows. Today I invite you to a frank, blunt conversation about these topics that, because they are so hidden, ended up creating myths. I know that for many, these subjects generate curiosity and a certain discomfort, but that's where the secret lies. How many times have you wondered about what's real and what's hype? Let's start at the beginning, unraveling the layers of mystery that surround this lesser talked about practice, but which arouses the curiosity of so many. During my life I heard friends, neighbors, and even older ladies talk about it, but there was rarely consensus. Each one has a version of the story, and over time the hearsay ended up creating truths that no one questions. Some believe it is something dangerous. Others think it is nothing more than something to please their partner, and there are still those who talk about it as if it were a secret portal of pleasure. And I wonder, are any of these stories really correct? To understand what really happens, you need to talk about the sensations, but carefully. When it comes to intimacy, there is a world of discoveries that is not always openly discussed. Some say that it is a path of no return, something that once done there is no way to undo. Others that it is an experience that can be embarrassing. But are these thoughts really absolute truths, or are many of us being guided by what we hear without actually knowing it? The truth is that the body holds secrets that only those who live a long life learn to unravel. And the first secret that I will reveal to you is that the intimate experience must be built in a light way, without fear. After all, only then can we understand what is good for us or not. This is the point that almost no one tells. For each person, the experience is unique, and the emotions that arise are their own. Therefore, before accepting any of these truths as definitive, ask yourself if it really makes sense to you. After all, the body and mind are our temples, and they are what guide our experience. And today I say with all the wisdom that time has brought me, there are no absolute truths. What matters is our relationship with our own body and with what we choose to explore or not. Pleasure, my dears, is not something that imposes itself. It is born from the inside out, grows in an environment of care and trust. And believe me, when the body is in harmony, what seemed uncomfortable can turn into a new discovery. But mind you, that doesn't mean it's for everyone. If a woman, regardless of age, refuses to give you her anus, it means that some women feel that this experience does not bring them any joy, and that's okay. Respecting one's own limits is the first step for any intimate experience to be healthy and pleasurable. And if I can share one more secret I've learned over time, it's that pleasure shouldn't come with pressure or obligation throughout life. Many of us end up giving in to certain expectations, but deep down what matters is that each one feels good about their choices. Those who decide to explore this path need to do so because they want to, and not because they think it is expected or desired by another. If there is something that time has taught me, it is that no true intimacy is built without respect. Mutual respect is the basis of every healthy relationship, the key to both feeling valued and comfortable expressing their desires, fears, and limits. And when it comes to more sensitive experiences like the ones we're talking about, respect isn't just important, it's essential. In a relationship where respect guides every interaction, the couple becomes a team, each taking care of the other's well-being with attention and patience. Many think that intimacy is just a physical act, but in fact it's an emotional dance, where each partner needs to be safe and comfortable to open up and trust. When there is respect, there is no hurry or pressure for anything. Each step is taken with consent and with the certainty that the limits of each one will be heard and respected. Respecting the other means not only accepting their yes and no, but understanding that these limits can change over time. Trust between partners allows either of them to express themselves freely without fear of judgment or pressure. One of the greatest gifts you can give to those you love is to listen carefully, value what you feel, and make sure you are never forced to do something that makes you uncomfortable. And believe me, this security strengthens the relationship in a unique way. Mutual respect also creates space for honest and sincere conversations about desires, boundaries, and fears. Instead of feeling shame or discomfort, you can explore what makes sense for both of you, knowing that respect will always be there. After all, true intimacy is born from the trust that both respect and value each other, regardless of the choices or experiences they decide to live together. So the next time you are talking about these topics, remember, respecting the other is the greatest act of love you can practice. Because where there is respect, there is freedom. Freedom to be who they are, to say yes and no, to explore or retreat, always with the certainty that they are safe and supported by the affection and care of their partner. This is how great stories of love and trust are built, and this is how each of us can find truly full intimacy. So don't let the myths dictate the rules. Our true pleasure is the one that arises naturally in an environment where you feel safe, and remember, your well-being always comes first. Is there pleasure? Yes, there may be, but only when it is the genuine will of the heart. Thus each one discovers their own path without haste, just with the freedom to be who they really are. When it comes to intimacy, we hear many warning stories, each one scarier than the other. In my youth, any deviation from the ordinary was seen as something risky, almost forbidden, and when the subject became this more unusual form of union, the answer was always the same: don't do that, it's dangerous. But are all these risks true, or are some just exaggerations fueled by ignorance? How body is delicate, and yes, it requires care and attention. Any intimate experience that goes beyond the ordinary needs preparation and above all respect for one's own limits. Some people believe that this practice, because it is different, is automatically harmful, but the reality is that what causes discomfort or problems is lack of care. For an experience to be safe, the body needs to be relaxed, and proper preparation is necessary. The most talked about risks usually involve minor injuries or even infections, but what many don't know is that these risks are directly linked to the way the practice is carried out. Lack of knowledge and haste are the real enemies of health and well-being. When things are done calmly with awareness and respect for one's own body, these risks become much smaller. It's like trying to learn to dance one step at a time, respecting the rhythm and listening to the body's needs. Another risk that we hear a lot about involves the issue of hygiene and possible infections. In fact, this is a sensitive area, and without proper care, the risk of infection increases. But at the same time, there are ways to prevent any problems, such as proper hygiene and the use of protection. These details, which many leave aside, are responsible for transforming a healthy experience into something that can in fact be risky. So I ask you, are these Risks real, or are they amplified by fear? They are real, yes, but fear often exaggerates the proportion of things. Any act when done without information or care can bring problems, but over my years I have learned that everything that involves the human body requires attention and affection, and believe me, taking care of yourself, respecting your own time, and following your own desire are the keys to avoiding these dangers. Therefore, before believing in horror stories, remember that the body is wise and knows how to warn us when something is or is not right. Know your limits. Listen to what he says and never pressure yourself into anything. With knowledge and caution, you are able to decide what is best for you without fear and without exaggeration, because at the end of the day, the real risk is in ignoring yourself and the signals your body gives you. How many times do we keep our feelings deep inside, afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or even worse, ignored? We often learn to put the needs of others above our own, to silence our own voice, to avoid conflict, or to protect those we love. But let me tell you something, talking about what we feel is a powerful and transformative act. Opening our hearts is a way to free ourselves and at the same time strengthen our relationships. When we express our feelings, whether they are joy, insecurity, doubts, or desires, we create a genuine and true connection. Our partners, friends, and family need to hear what we have to say, because only then can they truly know and understand us. And believe me, when you talk about your feelings, you are giving others a chance to be partners, to be supportive, and to walk alongside you in an authentic way. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. It is through it that we show who we really are without masks, and allow others to truly enter our lives. So, how about getting started today? Take a moment to express yourself, to say what you feel, to share what's in your heart. Don't underestimate the power of a sincere and open conversation. It can be the first step towards a new phase in your life, full of clarity, connection, and mutual respect. And remember, you deserve to be heard. Your emotions matter, and by putting them out, you strengthen not only your voice but also the bond with those who really matter. For many years, we older women have kept secrets and desires deep in our hearts, afraid of being misunderstood. We were taught to avoid anything that was different, as if any deviation was a threat to our dignity. But time has the power to make us see things differently. Over the years, I've learned that living at peace with one's body and its choices is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. And little by little, I and many other women of my generation began to challenge these taboos and allow ourselves to experience life with a new freedom. One of the great discoveries was to realize that our body at any age is capable of feeling and transforming. It is not something reserved for young people. On the contrary, maturity gives us a clearer vision of what really matters. Women my age began to break free from prejudice and understood that desire and intimacy are not shameful. They are a natural part of who we are, and therefore what was once considered taboo has come to be seen as a personal choice which deserves respect. Today, when I look at young women who still face these fears and insecurities, I feel a huge urge to say to them, you don't have to hold on to what others think. Live according to what makes sense to you. And for us who are older, how good it is to finally be able to open our hearts to what truly matters. What has taught me the most throughout my life is that self-knowledge and the courage to listen to what the body asks 4 are the keys to a full life without regrets. This advice is for all those who still carry the weight of taboos. Remember that aging is learning to free yourself from all these ties and understanding that life is ours to live as we want. What counts is what makes us feel good and what makes us feel complete, and if we are discovering it later, that we can allow ourselves to explore life safely and respectfully, then we are finally living our freedom. Because in the end there is no greater satisfaction than being who we really are, without fear and without shame. We're almost coming to the end of this video, and the question that hangs in the air is simple but profound: is it worth it? Is it worth exploring, opening yourself up to new experiences and going beyond what we've been taught is right or wrong? I tell you that after so many years my answer is clear. It is worth it when the choice is yours, when it comes from your desire and your will, because at the end of the day true value lies in living up to what you really want for yourself. Many go through life without experiencing certain things because they are afraid of judgment, afraid of disappointing, afraid of the unknown. And believe me, I've lived most of my life like that, but time showed me that we cannot live in fear of hearing our own voice. What I found is that no one can tell us what's best for us, not society, not the family, not even the partners. When it comes to intimacy, the choice should be ours, and no one has the right to deprive us of it. To know if it is really worth it, we need to look inside ourselves and ask sincerely, is this what I want? Is that the experience I want to explore? Because each path is unique, and the journey of self-knowledge does not have a fixed destination. And if the answer is yes, if it's something that resonates with your heart, then it's worth every step today. With all the experience that time has given me, I can say that the biggest mistake is to live with regrets for not having dared to be yourself. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that age gives us permission to free ourselves from everything that holds us back. We don't need to please anyone but us. There is nothing more important than living authentically and allowing yourself to be fulfilled, respecting your own limits and desires. So I ask, is it worth it for you? If at the end of our conversation you feel ready to explore life more freely, knowing that your happiness comes from your own choices, then yes, it's worth it. If not, know that it is okay to decide otherwise. The important thing is that the decision is always yours, guided by your truth. My final message to you is simple: true freedom lies in listening to your own heart, whether to dare or to choose not to do it. The important thing is to live according to what makes sense to you. May each of us look in the mirror at any age and feel the satisfaction of having lived authentically, without fear and without regrets. Remember, every experience, every decision belongs to you. It is a path that no one else can follow. And if you felt inspired by this conversation, how about joining us in this community which seeks to learn, explore and live with more awareness and freedom? I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Leave your like if this video has brought a new perspective, and share it with others who can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave your comment below. Let us know your thoughts and where you're watching from. We'd love to hear where this conversation of ours is going. And now, don't miss the next video, which is already appearing on the screen. Click on the link to continue discovering more about yourself in a new reflection that I am sure will enrich your journey. Let's explore a little more about what really matters to be fully ourselves.